He's very approachable. He's very generous and encouraging.
I became a sponge when I was around him.
I think the most interesting thing for me was sort of looking at what point he was going to kind of listen to his own sort of code of ethics and do the kind of morally agreeable thing, and at what point he was going to kind of pursue the sort of financial incentives, you know, in front of him as a Purdue rep, and kind of, I guess, playing in the gray zone between those two sort of motivations.
It's just her resilience and her will to keep going when things seem like they're just going in the wrong direction and she has nowhere to turn. You know, there's several turning points she has throughout the series and so many ups and downs, and I really, really enjoyed her arc.
Probably episode 8. It's at the end of the series, but that was probably the hardest scene for me to shoot. And just because, you know, at the end of the character's arc, often, you know, things kind of crescendo, and that's true for Billy too.
At the end of the day, no scene is really bigger than the other scene. It's all, you have to treat all of it as if it's all a big deal, which it is. You know, there were so many moments that I felt like this is a really hard day, and then there'd be another really hard day. And it was the most difficult role I've taken on as an actor, though. It felt very worth it.
It would probably be one of the diner scenes that I had with Michael, and it's an opportunity for sort of Billy and Dr. Phoenix to kind of, you know, exchange stories and share information about our families, and it kind of transpired that me and Michael just kind of did that, you know, out of character together in and around the time of that scene, and it really kind of informed, I think, the connection that we had on screen.
I loved meeting Michael for the first time and doing our first scene together. That was a really memorable moment just for me as an actor. It was just really cool to work with such a legend of an actor and a person.
I think some of my scenes with Michael Keaton, you know, when we just had these sort of long, uninterrupted kind of conversational scenes, you know, be it by the lake or, you know, enjoying a meal with each other.
There was a scene we got to shoot in a retired mining facility. It was once a working, functioning mine, but now it's no longer. But it was really cool to like actually be down in a mine shooting this show, and we got to shoot a couple of scenes in there. It was really fun.
Very approachable. He's very generous and encouraging and supportive, and he was of me, and that meant a lot to me. He was kind of like you know, a sort of unofficial mentor during the time that I was there, and I was very, very grateful to him for that.
I became a sponge when I was around him, so all of the little tiny things that he did I soaked up, and I am now taking with me on to the next project. And just the way he carried himself and the way his work ethic, I really admired a lot.
I think addicts have been sort of vilified all too often in drug-related stories. And I think that's especially cruel when you consider that the people they've labeled, you know, the villains in the story are actually the victims.
I guess there's a lot to learn from our show. I learned that addiction is not just a black and white thing, and that it's very complex, and that the people who were facing opioid addiction had no control, and that they were just completely taken over by this drug, and it completely ruined their life and changed their literal brain chemistry. And I hope the biggest takeaway from the show is that we can have a bit more empathy towards people who are dealing with addiction.